Hey everyone, today I bring you a review for one of my most anticipated games. Please note that this is based on over 20 hours of gameplay in the two most recent stages of the beta, which might seem strange, but make no mistake, this was practically the final build. The last stages of the beta were more like an opportunity for those who pre-ordered to try the game out early and then squash out all the most common bugs through a free weekend. All the maps, gameplay features and the content as a whole will be the same on launch day as confirmed by the developers numerous times. Yet, if Rising Storm 2 does change considerably by the release date, then I will edit or take down this video. Alright, without further ado, let's get reviewing. Originally an overhaul mod for Red Orchestra 2 Heroes of Stalingrad was being made called In-Country Vietnam, which was gonna be quite similar. However, it was never finished and did not see the light of day. In the meantime, Antimatter Games and Tripwire Interactive started working on their own project, the next installment in the Red Orchestra and Rising Storm franchise, but set during the Vietnam War, just like the aforementioned mod. And oh boy is it a good one. I'm so glad that they decided to stick with traditional beta phases for this and none of the early access bullshit. The difference in quality is huge. In fact, I think Rising Storm 2 is thus far having a much smoother launch than Red Orchestra 2 had. Most of all, it offers the same kind of excellent, intense, teamwork-focused, realistic gameplay that strikes the perfect equilibrium between the Call of Duty and Battlefield formulas, while feeling more authentic and hardcore than either of them, but still retaining a degree of accessibility that can't be found in the Arma series, for example. Furthermore, this new setting that takes us away from World War II and into Vietnam calls for a variety of gameplay changes and modernizations, which I am very happy to say have not ruined but only refined the Tripwire FPS model. The flamethrower from the Pacific Theater has returned, only it's heavier now. The Americans even get to pilot choppers this time, which function both as air support and flying spawn points, and of course the commander can drop napalm. This may seem overpowered at first, but the North Vietnamese receive other useful tools, such as a number of traps and makeshift barrage strike. Moreover, they can traverse the land through underground burrows and climb thick vines. This asymmetrical balance keeps things relatively fair and makes each match more interesting. A welcome addition is attaching and removing bayonets from your rifle, just like in Red Orchestra Ostfront 4145, as well as the entirely new feature of folding gun stocks. Identically to the previous parts of the series, we can choose from a variety of classes. Each comes with its own weaponry, equipment, combat role, and sometimes even a unique ability. Radios are not stationary, having been converted into a transportable radioman class for players. Since this is no longer the 1940s but the 60s and 70s of the 20th century, warfare has changed and most classes now have access to automatic firearms. Fortunately, this somehow works amazingly well and does not damage the format, even though previously most players could only use bolt-action or semi-automatic guns. It does result in faster, more action-packed and slightly less hardline combat though. Applying bandages to wounds has been completely revamped. You no longer just press a button and wait until the animation is over, but now have to hold the appropriate key until the injury has been dealt with, all the while you can see your blood dripping down to the ground, which is a nice touch. While squad leaders on the US side still function as the mobile spawn points of old, the Vietnamese equivalent of this role must build tunnels on the front line in order to allow his troops to get through. It is an interesting change that suits the historical setting and potentially gives the guerrilla fighters a much needed edge in combat, as a well-placed, hidden and continuously defended tunnel can quickly lead to the swift taking of an enemy-controlled area. Furthermore, it completely changes the dynamics of the squad leader role for the Vietnamese. Whereas on the US side, you should still concentrate on staying alive and remaining in useful positions for your squaddies to spawn at. On the Vietnam team, you can play more aggressively as long as you remember to place tunnels where necessary, defend them and dig new ones when they are destroyed. We may choose to play as soldiers of the Viet Cong and of the People's Army on the Vietnamese side, whereas the Americans get the United States Army and obviously the Marine Corps. This time we can even customize our characters with various helmets, hats, bandanas, outfits, facial hair, eyeglasses, tattoos and so on. It is a nice touch that gives your player character a little more flavor and reflects his increasingly battle-hardened status as he learns the ropes of the game. And don't worry, there are no loot boxes or microtransactions here, only unlockables that you gain access to as you level up your in-game rank, and at least right now there is no option to spend real money for cosmetics or to give yourself an edge in battle. Actually, this time there are no percentage increments for steady aim, accuracy and other stats that you could previously gain in Red Orchestra 2 as you leveled up, meaning that everyone starts on more even playing field. At this point, the main problem I have of the game is the stuttering. It is not by any means continuous. Rising Storm 2 often runs as smooth as butter, but I have had a few games that turned into an unbearable slog. The worst offender as of yet was one match that was running without complaint in the first round, but turned into a hellish nightmare on the second one, Once it even hung up for such an excruciatingly long time that for a moment I was fooled into believing my PC had crashed. When this happens, it can obviously drastically affect how well you play, resulting in pointless deaths that will undoubtedly look hilarious from the enemy's point of view. The only other real issues I've encountered so far are some minor visual glitches, such as teammates operating fixed heavy machine guns whose skin was invisible, or a bug that caused the list of maps you could vote for at the end of the match to disappear on one server. Another time the ground textures turn completely red at the end of a match. I will probably come across more small annoyances like this with time, but right now I can't say that I found any glaring flaws that affected the experience as a whole really negatively. Rising Storm 2 seems to be a much more polished and stable product than its predecessor was, especially at this stage. Overall, I'm very happy with how this is turning out, and I can wholeheartedly recommend Rising Storm 2 Vietnam to all fans of the series. Newcomers may also enjoy this as long as they realize what they are getting themselves into. Even with the stutters, which will hopefully be fixed over time, I must give this product a glowing endorsement. It is also worth mentioning that the game doesn't feature a great deal of maps at the moment, but it will surely be fleshed out with additional fan-made additions and official stuff over the coming years, just as its predecessors were. I truly enjoyed the first Red Orchestra and played its sequel for over 320 hours. If Rising Storm 2 continues to grow with free content updates, I can easily see myself spending just as much, if not more time on the scorched rice fields of Vietnam, as well as its deadly inhospitable jungles. On a side note, before I end this video, I just want to say that the most recent patch for Mass Effect Andromeda seems to have fixed that game-breaking bug for me. This means that I can finally get back into it and finish the review of it that I promised ages ago. Unless it breaks again before that, but fingers crossed it won't. If you're still waiting for that video, please stay tuned to my channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.